Welcome to today's edition of Research Rundowns, where we will discuss Civil War service records. My name is Kayla Scott, and I'm a reference archivist with the Alabama Department of Archives and History. Today's presentation will provide an overview of Confederate service records with details of what these records look like, where and how to search for them, and what information you can hope to gain from them. We will also discuss where to find Union service records for Alabama soldiers and the similarities between Confederate and Union service records. This is the last research rundown for the spring season, but you can still enjoy our monthly food for thought presentations throughout the summer. Also, keep an eye on social media for an announcement about fall research rundowns. When you visit Fold 3, you should see a screen similar to the one we have here. Thumbnail images are designed for each military era or conflict. Clicking on them leads you to a search screen that will allow you to go through the military records for the war you are researching. You will note that there are three applicable buttons here for U.S. Civil War, U.S. Civil War Union, and U.S. Civil War Confederate records. Clicking on the circled thumbnail option for the U.S. Civil War Confederacy leads to the search screen you see here. From here, you can search using names, record types, place, and dates. Begin your searches with minimum information to avoid missing applicable records. Fold 3 records can include Confederate service records, Union service records, pension applications, Confederate amnesty records, Southern claims applications for Alabama, Confederate citizens files, and Confederate casualty reports. Confederate service record files can include information such as the dates of service, the names of engagements participated in, hospital records, prisoner of war information, pay information, death information, and can even note the next of kin if the soldier has died. If you don't begin your search with the knowledge of what regiment and company your ancestors served in, you may end up with several men whose names could fit who you are trying to find. One tool to help determine regimental history and company information is Brewer's brief historical sketches of military organizations that can be accessed on our website. Each entry for a regiment includes a brief history of the regiment's Civil War organization and action, as well as a list of captains and counties from which the companies came. These companies are listed in the order of regiment organization. So if you look at a list of the companies, you can count down A, B, C, D, and know that Company A was organized in Tallapoosa County, Company C was organized in Lowndes County, etc. I've handwritten the company letters on the image to the right to illustrate how this works. So, an example, if you find records for someone who served in the 1st Alabama Infantry, Company H, you can look at this list and see that this company of the regiment was organized in Barber County. This can not only give you information about where a regiment is from, but can help you narrow down what regiments and companies would be most likely for your ancestor to have served in. Service index cards can provide clues for further ways to search for your soldier. They include regiment and company information, rank, and can provide alternate names or spellings of names that the soldier went by or was filed under. The See Also section is circled here, and you will note that it is blank for this soldier. If alternate names were available, they would typically be listed here. Here are two examples of muster roll cards. These cards are part of service records files that exist on Fold 3. These show the soldier's name as being James E. Couch and provide his rank, company, and regiment information as being a private in Company B of the 3rd Alabama Infantry. The records also show the date and location of his enlistment as being April 24th, 1861 in Mobile, Alabama. The period or duration of service is stated as 12 months. The circled dates on these cards are the dates of pay and show that to what time he has been paid for. If there are missing cards or if it appears that a soldier died or left service, the dates of pay show you that a soldier was still alive up until the date at least. Records of illness and hospitalization can show up on a few different types of records, including the muster rolls, hospital rolls, and regimental return records, just to name a few. This first muster roll on the left has Couch's status as absent with remarks noting he is sick at the Naval Hospital. The card on the right is dated April 28, 1862, and notes the location as being Mosley's Church. It is noted in the remarks section of the card that Couch is being discharged due to physical disability. This record is an example from the Register of Payments to Discharged Soldiers, another record that can be part of a service records file. This card doesn't give a reason for the discharge like the previous record did, but it does provide the date of discharge, the date of payment, his rank, his regiment, and his company information. Also note that previous records provided the name James E. Couch spelled out in full, but this record has an abbreviation for James, listing him as JAS period E. Couch. While many files may not contain an actual certificate of disability for discharge, even if other records indicate that the discharge occurred, this one happily includes the document. The document reads Private James E. Couch of Captain William Hartwell's Company B of the 3rd Alabama Regiment of the Confederate States Army was enlisted by Captain William Hartwell of the 3rd Regiment of Alabama at Mobile on the 24th day of April 1861 to serve 1 year. He was born in Claiborne County in the state of Alabama, is 22 years of age, 5 feet 6 inches high, dark complexion, blue eyes, black hair, and by occupation when enlisted, a clerk. During the last 2 months, said soldier has been unfit for duty 90 days. The document further provides the location as being Mosley's Church near Norfolk, Virginia. A description of his illness and a discharge date of 28th April 1862 in this page of the document. Page 2 of this disability certificate restates the reasons for his discharge and provides pay information. Not only was Couch provided with his remaining pay for previous service, but he was also given an allotment to help cover travel expenses from Norfolk, Virginia to Mobile, Alabama. Interestingly, it appears that Couch's service with the 3rd Alabama and subsequent medical discharge did not end his Civil War service. Several months later, in September of 1862, he appears as J. E. Couch in Company K of the 21st Alabama Infantry Regiment. Records indicate that his brother also served with this regiment after having initially served in another regiment as well. This time, he was enlisted at Fort Morgan for the period of the war. You will note that I have circled a note on the record at the left that says "for bounty." This would be why Couch enlisted a second time, as he could now have entered to collect the bounty instead of having to enlist to fulfill his own draft obligation. Here we find J. E. Couch on the roll of prisoners of war. The top of the card on the right lists his rank and regiment information, followed with the information that his residence is now Shabbutuck, Clark County, Mississippi, a county bordering Alabama. The middle area of the card explains how Couch became a prisoner of war. It reads, as part of Company K, 21st Alabama Regiment, Holtzclaw's Brigade, Confederate States Army, commanded by First Lieutenant William I. Brainerd, surrendered at Citronella, Alabama, by Lieutenant General R. Taylor, CSA, to Major General E. R. S. Canby, USA, May 4, 1865, and paroled at Meridian, Mississippi, May 13, 1865. The final record in his file indicates that Couch appeared on a receipt roll for clothing issued on July 10, 1863, and signed with a mark, meaning he was probably unable to write or read. Many soldiers were not as fortunate as Mr. Couch and were unable to make it out of the war alive. George Geck was one such soldier who died during the war. On the record to the left, you will note that he is a prisoner of war at Fort Delaware, Delaware. He was captured at Champion Hill May 17, 1863, arrived at the prison on June 9, 1863, and died June 24th. The record to the left indicates that he was captured on May 16th, one day before the other record is dated. The record also notes in the remarks section that he died in hospital at Fort Delaware on June 24th, 1863. As a side note, Mr. Geck's last name, when listed correctly, is Geck, yet the records here list him as Gake, Gake, and other records have him listed with a range of other spellings. It is important to keep all alternate spellings in mind when searching for service records. This record has Private Geck listed as George Geaik in the Register of Claims of Deceased Officers and Soldiers from Alabama, which were filed for settlement in the Office of the Confederate States Auditor for the War Department. As I have circled on the record in yellow, the claim was presented by George's father, John Geck, Geck. The record was filed September 2nd, 1863, a few months after Private Geck's death in June. When applicable, desertion records may also be part of a soldier's files. Sometimes an unauthorized yet temporary leave of absence was listed as desertion, even though he later rejoined his unit. Such unauthorized leave was particularly tempting for a soldier if the Army was marching through or near his home area. A variety of issues could tempt a soldier to temporary desertion, such as family illness, hardships, or death. However, if you find no further records after desertion has been noted, it is most likely that the soldier truly and permanently deserted. Sometimes you will find deserter records in the same file with hospital records, where a soldier's hospital status had not been accurately reported to his commander. Deserters were not eligible for pensions, so it is useful to check pension records to attempt verification of desertion or continued service. In the research room, we have some records relating to Civil War service on microfilm. These are located in the tan-colored cabinets in the research room. These records are not nearly as user-friendly as Fold 3, as you must scroll through many records before finding the name you're searching for. The records also do not contain the detail that Fold 3 records do, as they are typically derived from official records, and Fold 3 actually has the official records. Some soldiers only have one or two cards available on the microfilm. These are some examples of what types of records you might find in this collection. A few pension index cards, such as the one you see on the right, are included in these files. While Alabama was part of the Confederacy, there were a significant number of soldiers from the state who wanted to enlist in the Union. Fold 3 includes Union records that provide similar information to what has been discussed here in regard to Confederate records. Of particular interest for Alabama Union service research is the Fold 3 collection, Civil War Service Records, Union, Alabama. This collection includes records for the 1st Alabama Cavalry, a unit that not only included soldiers from Alabama, but also from Georgia. Additional Union enlistees from Alabama would have found their way into random Union regiments and can be harder to track down. You can try searching for your ancestor within Union regiments from states closest to where your ancestor lived. North Alabama soldiers, particularly, may be found in Tennessee or even Kentucky Union regiments. What regiment your ancestor ended up in can depend on what opportunities your ancestor had to join and where the opportunities might have been located. Many free African Americans, as well as those who escaped enslavement, also joined the USCT. Determining which regiment they join can be difficult, but the use of keyword searches using Alabama can prove helpful in finding those who noted their birth or residence in the state. Some applicable collections on Fold 3 include Civil War Service Records, Union, Colored Troops, 56th through 138th Infantry, Civil War Service Records, Union, USCT Miscellaneous Cards, and Civil War Service Records, Union, USCT Miscellaneous Personal Papers. Widows' pension files for USCT soldiers' wives can also be found in the Civil War Widows' Pension collections. Some tips for finding your ancestors' service records include the following. If possible, know what county and state your ancestor was from before you start searching. You can use census records to help determine this. Consider checking pension records before you search service records or to clarify your service records search. If available, pension records can help determine which James Smith in the records is yours by helping you match county, wife's name, and regiment from the pension records to the correct service records. Remember to search for alternate spellings of names. For example, a single man may be listed as John B. Haynes, Jonathan B. Haynes, J. Haynes, J. B. Haynes, J. Haynes, Jhaynes, etc. These spellings will not necessarily be the same on each record or type of records, and all records for a soldier may not be neatly located in the same file together. Some researchers like to use wildcard searches for names that may have been spelled multiple ways. This practice uses symbols such as question marks and asterisks to replace letters that may be different if a name is spelled multiple ways. Check out the comments section of this presentation for links to pages for Ancestry and Fold3 that explain how these searches can be made. Put the state soldier enlisted in as a keyword search, not the location. Fold3 doesn't catch the location from enlistment records, but does catch the name of the regiment, such as in the 21st Alabama. Start with few search terms and work your way to adding additional terms. Too many terms can make the system rule out good matches. If you can't find someone after searching by all variations of first and last names, look by last name only. This will take more time, but can help you in your search in finding a spelling you would otherwise miss. Remember to look at dates of service on records. Soldiers often served in 2 or more regiments due to reenlistment, transfers, and consolidation of units. If someone's records abruptly disappear with no explanation, it could mean a transfer and therefore another records file under another regiment name. In your research, don't forget to check applicable record collections on Ancestry.com as well as Fold3. Ancestry.com has muster rolls, soldier and widow pension applications, and Confederate census records. While Ancestry.com and Family Search each include collections that indicate they have service records, they typically link to Fold3, making them useless if you don't have access to a Fold3 account. Here are some additional resources that you may find helpful in your research. These links should also be available in the comments section of this presentation. The ADAH Alabama Civil War Service Database can be found on our website. You can search by the name of the soldier, but it must be spelled precisely as it is on the record for your search to yield results. This is why I suggest searching by last name only first, then doing a Control F search of the results. You can also just simply scroll down the list of results until you find possible matches. Willis Brewer's Brief Historical Sketches of Military Organizations Raised in Alabama During the Civil War is another resource that can be found on our website. I previously noted how this provides users with a brief background of the regiment's service, as well as the counties each company predominantly enlisted from. The National Park Service Soldiers and Sailors database is similar to our ADH Civil War Service database in some ways, as you can type in a name and potentially find what regiment a soldier served with. The database includes all available soldiers from not just the Confederate states and units, but also the Union states and regiments as well. In your search, it may be useful to understand more about Civil War records and where they can be found. Family Search wiki pages can be a great resource for information about learning more about various types of records and their locations. The Family Search Confederate Service Records wiki page, the Family Search United States, Confederate, Navy, and Marine Service Records wiki page, and the Family Search Alabama Civil War Service Records of Union Soldiers page may each be of help in your research. If you don't have time to search for Civil War service records yourself, feel free to submit a research request and we will do it for you. Visit our website and fill out a research request form. One of our reference archivists will go through files in our collections, Fold3, and Ancestry.com to give you a full look at your ancestors' life and service. And you never know what you will find. Depending on how long your ancestors served and if all of the records survived the war, there can be few or many documents. The research request form link can be found in the comments section as well. This wraps up today's research rundown. We should have some time for a few questions before we go, but if you think of any questions after the presentation, feel free to email me at kayla.scott@archives.alabama.gov. Please fill out the survey that is included in the comments section. Your feedback is used to make our presentations as helpful as possible. If you have any questions, you can put those in the comments now. So let's see what questions we have, if any. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. If you do have any questions about this presentation, please put those in the comments section and we'll do our best to answer them. Um, Wes Talon has asked, will this presentation continue to be on the Facebook page so that we can access them after the presentation? Yes, they will. There may be a little small frame of time that it's not quite available to load, but later today it will be on Facebook and on YouTube as well. How can we gain access to Fold3? Okay, so for one thing, you can make an appointment to visit the research room. We will be doing appointments for accessing the research room. Just go to our website and fill out the form, and our uh, research coordinator will be in touch with you. But also, you can choose to go to your local library. A lot of times, local libraries have access, so you don't have to travel far away from home. They have free access quite often. Also, you have the option of going to their website and purchasing a uh, access to it as well. They typically have like a 7-day free trial that they'll offer. So that may be a good option for you if you just have a couple of different ancestors that you're interested in searching for. Do the ADAH databases accept wildcards? I don't think they do. I personally have not tried to do that with our databases. So I would suggest thinking about in our searches of our records, just think about the different spellings that may be applicable for your ancestor. Um, Otherwise, for Fold3 and Ancestry.com, the links of the help pages for Ancestry and Fold3 about how to do those wildcard searches are in the comments. Okay, does anyone else have any more questions? Okay, well, I'm not seeing any more questions coming in, so I want to thank everyone once again for joining us for today's research rundown. We appreciate all feedback that you put there's a survey in the comments section, so if you haven't already done so, please do fill out the form. And thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful day.